Oh, hi guys. Ezra Levant here. How you doing? It's Monday, June 8th. I can't believe how the time has flown. The pandemic certainly ate up a lot of our year, didn't it? Holy cow. But it ended almost as quickly as it began. And for that we have Black Lives Matter and Antifa to thank. They just sort of said, yeah, we're going to go and this whole social distancing shenanigans and 2 months cooped up in our apartments and houses is enough. And wouldn't you know it, every single public health official, politician, bureaucrat, and policeman said, okay, that's fine. Isn't that funny? On the weekend, Justin Trudeau went to a massive gathering. By massive, a couple thousand people, I think. Maybe 1,000. Actually, I don't know how many people there were. It wasn't massive by comparison to, say, the annual March for Life on Parliament Hill, which sometimes has 100,000 people. But from a tight angle, tight shot, it certainly looked like there were dozens of people there in very close quarters. And he's been telling us for months, don't go out in crowds, don't go to church, don't go to restaurant, don't go to work, stay at home. But he had no problem going to Parliament Hill, not to work, but to take a knee. What does that mean, by the way? Is he protesting against Canada's inherent racism? But he's been the Prime Minister for 5 years. Is he protesting against the United States? I think there was someone who was chanting, "Go home, blackface," to him. Do we have audio of that? I don't know who that guy is, but I'd like to buy him a cup of coffee or a sandwich or a Coke or a beer. Imagine the chutzpah of Justin Trudeau, Mr. Blackface himself, going to a Black Lives Matter event without being booed and shamed out of the place. Do we have that clip? Here, let's take a look.
Go home, blackface! Go home!
I love that. Go home, blackface, go home. Now, there was another protest in Toronto where someone actually showed up in blackface. And boy, did this person take their blackface very seriously. Like, there's just, you could put a little bit of black makeup on, but this guy went the whole 9 yards, like Justin Trudeau did so many times. I mean, he was meticulous, totally covered himself. The only thing shining through was his eyeballs and his teeth. Look at that guy. Look at that. His hair, every single part of his body. And he just went down there with a grin and his hands. And there were some people who did not like that one bit, including the police who immediately got into his grill. Now, he was arrested. I don't think he was charged with anything. He was arrested for disturbing the peace. And you know what? I'm not actually going to quarrel with the police too much on that one, because you send a guy in blackface into a black rights protest, you're asking for, well, it's for the guy, you know, frankly, the guy probably got saved a punch in the nose for it. But it's obvious he was making the point, if the Prime Minister of our country, Justin Trudeau, can do blackface repeatedly, how can he not? In fact, I made a bit of a joke. I set up a website with the help of A10, who was working on the weekend, freetrudeau.com. And I tweeted, oh my God, have Canada's police moved against Justin Trudeau? It's a coup! And I had a petition for people to sign to free Justin Trudeau. And in fact, some people did sign the petition. I don't think, after reviewing the tape very carefully, I don't think that was Justin Trudeau. But it's hard to tell, because he did a very good job of blackface, which that's words you don't normally say. But with Justin Trudeau, it's a real issue. You know, the first time I saw Jacob Fry, who is the mayor of Minneapolis, I immediately thought of Justin Trudeau. He's got the same sort of hair, and he tries to look younger than he is, and he tries to be really hip, and he likes to be really woke and say very vapid things. And that works a fair bit of time. I mean, take a look at this dancing video, and this could actually be Justin Trudeau. Take a look. You know, I don't like to praise Trudeau, but I think Trudeau has a little bit more rhythm than Jacob Fry. I'm not against people dancing, having fun. That's sort of a catchy song, and it's sort of like a mix between a country-style line dance and a rap song. A pretty popular song. But that sort of woke, I'm just like you, mayoring, it only goes so far. At the end of the day, you have to answer for the substance. So Justin Trudeau took a knee, and I'm not sure what he was trying to say. Because when you're the prime minister of a country for 5 years, and he'll be prime minister, I think, for another 3 at least, who are you taking a knee to protest against? What are you, like when you fired, was it when you fired all the women of color from your own caucus and cabinet, Selena Cesar-Chavannes, the first Indigenous Justice Minister in Canadian history, Jody Wilson-Raybould? What are you protesting against exactly? Your own blackface? So there comes a point in time when people say, well, where's the beef? Where's the substance? And there was this incredible, incredible moment on the weekend of Jacob Fry, who who dances with Black Lives Matter. He's the one who ordered the police in Minneapolis to retreat and surrender their actual police station. So there's this big street gathering in Minneapolis over the weekend, where he went to show how woke he was and how down he was. But they asked him a very simple yes or no question that was right to the point. Take a look at this, and there's different versions of this video. I'm not sure which one we have lined up here, but it's sort of hard to hear what he says. If there's no caption on the screen, if it's not audible, I'll tell you what he says. It's a very key answer to a yes/no question here. Take a look at this, and feel free to run a minute and a half, 2 minutes of this. It's a great video. Take a look.
Have to take responsibility here. I've been coming to grips with my own brokenness in this situation, my own failures, my own shortcomings, and I know there needs to be deep-seated structural reform in terms of how the department operates. The systemically racist system needs to be revamped. The police union needs to be put in its place. We need to make sure that everything from the union contract to the way that the arbitration functions to the way that our officers and the culture in the department behaves.
Jacob Fry, we have a yes or no question for you. Jacob Fry, we have a yes or no question for you. Yes or no, will you commit to defunding Minneapolis Police Department? What did I say? We don't want no more police. Is that clear? We don't want people with guns toting around in our community, shooting us down. You have an answer? It is a yes or a no. It is a yes or a no. Will you defund the Minneapolis Police Department? All right, be quiet, y'all. Be quiet, because it's important that we actually hear this. It's important that we hear this, because if y'all don't know, he's up for re-election next year. If y'all don't know, he's up for re-election next year. And if he says no, guess what the fuck we gonna do next year? What'd you say?
I do not support full abolition of the police.
All right, get the fuck out of here. Go home. Go home, Jacob. 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 Go home. Go home.
Incredible. And then there's another clip just watching him slowly walk through hundreds of people shouting, "Go home, Jacob, go home." If you didn't quite hear it, he said, well, I'm going to take on the police union, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, more oversight. And the Black Lives Matter activist said, no, yes or no question, will you defund them? Will you abolish them? And he said, no, I won't completely defund them, I won't completely abolish them. Go home, Jacob. Go home. Look at him. Look at this. Can you pump up the volume a bit here? You know, I don't like Jacob Fry much. In fact, I think he's probably the worst mayor in America. And boy, that's saying a lot. Worse than Chicago, worse than LA, worse than Berkeley, worse than New York. I mean, boy, just saying those things. I mean, is he really worse than Bill de Blasio? But I felt a little bit sorry for him there. Can you get the Game of Thrones Walk of Shame clip? I mean, I have never seen anything so, like, imagine what it. I think there were maybe 1,000 people there, and they were saying, shame, 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 go home, Jacob, go home. And he thought he was their hero. Didn't he do everything they wanted? Didn't he allow the looters to burn the city down? Didn't he order the police to evacuate the police station and literally let criminals come in and take over the police station? Didn't he do everything they wanted? I don't know if you can find. There's a little bit of nudity in this clip, folks. But so if you are uncomfortable with that, click away. It reminded me of this scene from Game of Thrones. We're just loading that up right now. And then after that, can you get me the clip of Jacob Fry crying at the casket of George Floyd? Because that's quite something. Talk about a dramatic actor. I've never seen anyone go through that kind of shame, walk of shame. They were literally saying shame, 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 shame. When you're hearing that live, surround sound, from people who you went there thinking, yeah, I'm cool. I did the Cupid Shuffle. I went to George Floyd's funeral and I made an enormous drama queen show of weeping visibly for the cameras. These are my people. And then when you refuse to go all the way, when you refuse to say, I am shutting down the police, go home, Jacob, go home, shame, shame, shame. That's how radical. I think we're demonetized anyways. Go ahead. Here's this Game of Thrones. It reminded me of this.
Shame.
Oh, we got the audio. I don't think we got the video.
Shame.
All right, you get the picture. She had to walk naked all the way down the capital city while people were shouting shame at her and spitting and throwing at her. It really was that bad for Jacob Fry. If you can find the footage of him weeping at the casket, I've had the unfortunate experience, as we all do in life, of attending funerals. First of when you're young, I suppose, people you didn't know well. Then as you get older yourself, people you did know a little bit. Family members. Thankfully, I have both my parents still with me. You know, think about, I'll show this to you in a second. Thank you, Justin, for queuing it up. How hard do you cry at a stranger's funeral? At an acquaintance's funeral? At a friend's funeral? At, God forbid, a parent's funeral, or even worse, that of a spouse, or God forbid, the worst thing of all, God forbid, how hard would you cry at the funeral of a child? That I can't think of anything that would be worse in the world. I think this is cry as if your child had died crying. This is even more than, I mean, women and men are different. This is how I think a man, to cry like this, it would have to be his only child who passed away. Take a look at this and you tell me.
Joy comes in the morning. Troubles, they don't last always. Lord, there's a friend in Jesus who will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken, just lift your hands and say, no matter what may come my way, my life is in your hands. You don't have to worry.
Yeah, that's my young child died type funeral mourning. The only other dramatic actor I know like that is Justin Trudeau. They're quite similar, aren't they? All right, I see some super chats coming in. Let me catch up on those. Sneaky Beaver, $5. Hello, Ezra. What do you think about new Quebec Bill 61? Read about Sir, BLM is a smokescreen. Well, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know about Quebec Bill 61, so you've caught me flat-footed. And it's always tough to Google things in real time. Bill 61, Quebec. I'm just going to see if something pops up. To fast-track infrastructure projects in Quebec. Raises questions, red flags, mitigate the consequences of a public health emergency. All right, I can't do the research in real time here. I'll have to look at it. But at least they want to restart the economy there, unlike Ontario, which doesn't seem to. Proud Boys Calgary, $5. Disingenuous emoting is disgusting. No man can stomach even witnessing it. No pity for Fry at all. The Chinese Communist Party must be destroyed. Thank you, Proud Boys Calgary. Well, the thing is, if you are false about something so personal and so emotional as fake crying at a funeral, then what won't you be false about? Like, I can't think of anything more intimate, more important, more moral than how you act at a funeral, more grave, more authentic. And if you are a faker and faking it for the TV, how can anything you say or feel ever be taken at face value ever again? Are you happy or are you sad or are you just faking it? Are you mad or are you motivated or are you that is such a lie. Like if someone said to him, will you raise my taxes? Will you do this? Will you do that? And you say something and then you later change your mind. That might not even be a lie. That might be a politician changing course, flip-flopping. You know, sometimes a flip-flop is appropriate. When you get it wrong the first time, it's a good idea to flip-flop. You know, when the facts change, should your opinion not change? But this isn't a flip-flop. This isn't even a lie. This is a lie done to manipulate you. You can't trust Jacob Fry for anything. And the good news is you won't have to trust him for anything much more. As I mentioned, he was asked, will you abolish the police force in Minneapolis? And I suppose, to his credit, he said, no, I won't abolish it totally. Well, later that weekend, a veto-proof majority of the Minneapolis City Council said, well, we'll do it for you, boss. And I want to show you the most stunning things. I want to show you two videos back to back. And Justin, thanks for getting all these things going. Boy, we got a lot of videos, don't we? I want to show you two videos that are extremely related. The first is, I think it happened in Seattle or Bellevue, which I think is near Seattle, the suburb of Seattle. I think it happened this weekend. I think it happened yesterday. Looked like a protest of some sorts. Now, it's distracting with this shouting and screaming going on, but it is fascinating to watch. Watch this video. I've watched this video twice. It's actually quite riveting. Take a look at what happened. I think this was yesterday in Seattle, Washington.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! No! No! Oh God! Oh Jesus! Oh God! Oh God! Oh Jesus! Oh no! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh Jesus Christ! Oh Jesus Christ! Oh God! He's got a gun! He's got a gun! Oh God! Oh my God! No, no! Oh God!
Now, I read later that that man was detained by police. I presume he'll be charged with something, but I think I've watched that video 4 times now. And so the car's driving down the street, and our over-dramatic narrator goes, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, ho, 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 ho. Like it goes on for quite a while. And I'm thinking, oh, he's worried this is going to be like Charlottesville, where a car rammed the people, but it didn't, did it? It slowed down, and it actually didn't hit anybody. Can you play it with sound down so I'm narrating it myself? And I'll try not to be quite as energetic as the videographer. So, car's coming down, and it's going sort of fast. And there's someone chasing it, but it stops. Okay, it bumps some little barrier, but it doesn't hit anybody. Not anybody. But then they start to swarm. Look at that guy, smash, 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 smash. And someone comes to smash him, and then take a look, bam, I think I missed the moment. He shot a guy, and then he gets out of the car with a gun, apparently, and he starts to walk away. Can you scroll back? I want to catch the moment. Let's play it sound up. I want to catch the moment of the shot. So play it sound up.
Oh God! No! No! Oh God! Oh Jesus! Oh God! Oh God! Oh Jesus! Oh no! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh Jesus Christ! Oh Jesus Christ!
I think that might be Jacob Fry narrating. So he says, oh God, because the car is coming in at a good clip. Maybe he thinks it's going to ram people, but it actually does the opposite, doesn't it? It slows down, and some street urchin puts, it looks like a gate or a barrier in front of the car. And then immediately someone comes and starts smashing the window of the car. Imagine being in a car and having the window smashed. And the probable reason you were going fast is you just want to get through there and get out. And then you notice the guy coming right up on the driver's side and going right into the windshield. And that's when the guy in the car, boom, shot him. You heard the crack, and the guy fell down, and then you heard the oh God, oh God. And then you see more swarming. The guy gets out of the car, apparently brandishing a gun, and he sort of walks away and then tries to run away. Apparently he was caught. Now, I got to tell you, I only have that vantage point, but from what I saw, someone drove quickly but then slowed down before he hit anyone. He was blocked. His car was attacked with him in, and I can only imagine how terrifying that is. Someone started to come in on the driver's side. He shot him. And then there was no way he was going to drive out of there because it was being swarmed already. So he got out and went out. As far as I know, I saw something that I think was self-defense. I don't know. It's hard to tell with that extreme drama commentary. I think there was 2 sides to the violence. I think the people who actually were violent first, was the mob on the street, right? I mean, the car came in at a fair clip, but it didn't hit anyone. People scattered, but they were in the street, So he slowed down. I think the violence started by the mob around the car, and then it was answered with a gun, that's probably the only way you're going to win odds like that. So you have violence against the guy and violence from the guy. Is this what they mean by defund police, by abolish police? Because I didn't see any police there. I saw someone in a fluorescent yellow outfit, but it didn't look like a cop to me. That looked pretty lawless to me. You might even use the word anarchy. No cops around, and really, why should it? What's a cop going to do? Go in and have his car smashed? He's the one beat up, or if he shoots back, his career over, he's called a murderer or whatever. Why would a cop go into a situation like that? Now, if that was in Bellevue, Washington, I don't know the situation with the mayor there. But if you're a cop in Minneapolis, why would you lift a finger for anyone? The mayor's going to throw you under the bus. If you are defending your own police station, the mayor will order you to surrender. The mayor disparages you. Why would you go and put yourself in harm's way? Like, why would you? To risk being hurt, or probably worse, hurting someone else and having your life destroyed? So that's what it looks like in my mind to have the lawless situation of abolishing the police, defunding the police, which are the mottos of the left. And you might be thinking, Ezra, you crazy. They don't really mean to defund the police. Well, I tell you that on Sunday, a veto-proof majority of Minneapolis' city council voted to do just that. I should tell you, Jacob Frey was not actually the most left-wing candidate in Minneapolis' last mayor's race. I checked. He wasn't. There was a more radical anti-police choice than him. But look at this. Here's a Minneapolis councilor who was on, I think it was CNN yesterday, making the case for abolishing the police. Like, seriously. Going where Jacob Frey would not go. Advocating for the kind of no police war of all against all. You know, Thomas Hobbes said, I think it was Hobbes, who said, life without a governing authority is nasty, brutish, and short. Have you ever heard that phrase before? Nasty, brutish, and short. Yeah, can I read it to you? It's Thomas Hobbes, who was a philosopher around the time of Shakespeare, around the time of the plague. I just want to read from his book, The Leviathan. Can you go to The Leviathan? It's an amazing cover of the book. And forgive me this tangent, but this is one of the things we do in these calls. The cover of his book, The Leviathan, is so terrifying. So this is a guy 400 years ago who wrote a book called Leviathan. Do you know what that word means? It's like a giant, enormous, powerful thing. In this case, the state. And he was making the argument that we must contract with each other. Yeah, look at that. Can you zoom in on that at all? So that enormous thing made up of everyone is the Leviathan. That is the Leviathan. And he was trying to argue for it and explain it. Leviathan, or the matter, form, and power of a commonwealth, ecclesiastical and civil. And I think if you look at that picture of the cover, I'm zooming in right now. Can you zoom into it even closer? The Leviathan is made up of a lot of people. So it's this terrifying monstrosity, and I don't know if you can see it on the, but the image is a giant king made up of hundreds of little people. And in a way, isn't that exactly what the state is? Isn't that what the state is? If it's a state of all the people as opposed to just a monarchy, one person. Let me read, can I just read to you, and I'm going to get right back. I just had to go down this tangent, you know. I'm quoting from Leviathan. And he's talking about what life is like before there's a strong central authority. before there was a strong government, in a state of anarchy. He said, I'm just quoting here, "In such condition, there is no place for industry, because the fruit thereof is uncertain." Isn't that the truth? You set up a shop, you got to make a few bucks, but then they come and smash it and loot and burn it. "And consequently, no culture of the earth." Now they're talking about, in particular, agriculture. "No navigation, nor use of the commodities that may be imported by sea. No commodious building, no instruments of moving and removing such things as require much force. No knowledge of the face of the earth, no account of time, no arts, no letters, no society." Well, I think he's right. If it's complete lawlessness and anarchy, if there's no authority, it's what we saw in the streets of Bellevue. And who would say, "I'm going to start a shop there. I'll set up and I'll roll in with my ice cream truck"? No, mate, they're going to throw your ice cream truck over, steal your ice cream, steal your money, and shoot you. "I'm going to set up a barber shop on the corner." No, mate, they'll smash your windows and burn your place down. So who would do that? But here's to me the key part. He's saying no one would live a full life, build things, do things, invest. No one would do anything if there was such a risk. But here's the key line, and it's what every high school student should memorize. "Which is worst of all, continual fear and danger of violent death, and the life of man, solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short." Well, it's like he wasn't living in the UK 400 years ago. It's like he was living in Minnesota or Bellevue or New York City even. Let me read that last line again. If I can find it on the page here. There it is. "There's no arts, no letters, no society, and, which is worst of all, continual fear and danger of violent death, and the life of man, solitary, nasty, brutish, and short." Now, the trouble we have these days is too much of a Leviathan, too much power. A Leviathan that knows all, that sees all, the surveillance state, the police state. Oh, you can go too far. You can go too far down the road of the Leviathan, but you need some sort of authority. Now, it comes from a sort of social contract. We all agree to a certain set of rules. We agree that the state has a monopoly on violence. Well, they don't agree to that in Bellevue or all these other cities, do they? That Black Lives Matter street meeting, they basically had a 5-minute trial of Jacob Fry. No. But look at one of the Minneapolis city councilors. I think that's who she is. What's her last name? Linda or something? I looked it up on my phone. I'm so sorry. I just want to get her name. It's Bender. Miss Bender. Lisa Bender. Seems like a nice young lady. Take a look at her on CNN talking about, well, sure, it's nasty, brutish, and short, but that's the point. Take a look at this.
State action against our police department, which gives us legal mechanisms in the very short term. There's lessons from all over the country, all over the world that we're looking to take immediate steps while we work toward building the systems that we would need to imagine that future.
Do you understand that the word dismantle or police free also makes some people nervous? For instance, what if in the middle of the night my home is broken into? Who do I call?
Yes, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of my neighbors. And I know, and myself too, and I know that comes from a place of privilege, because for those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to step back and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality, where calling the police may mean more harm is done. And so we have
That's just so amazing. And I've watched that clip a lot. So she says we have to imagine that future because relying on the police and feeling safe, that comes from a place of privilege. We have to step back and imagine a future with that reality. I didn't write it down verbatim there. So she's saying, oh yeah, having that safety and security of the police who would come, having 911 if your house is broken into, yeah, that's a privileged thing to say. We have to imagine the terror of not having that. And anyone who likes to be safe, that's just white privilege. I play it again. Play the clip again. Play that. She said that. I didn't make that up. She said that. And she's not a crazy pundit. She's a city councilor in Minneapolis who's going further than Jacob Fry. She says, oh yeah. Oh yes, it is terrifying. And yeah, I have heard some people say it's terrifying. Yeah, I have heard some people say that. I grant you that. But we have to imagine that terror because not being terrified is a form of privilege. She said that. Take a listen.
Action against our police department, which gives us legal mechanisms in the very short term. You know, there's lessons from all over the country, all over the world that we're looking to take immediate steps while we work toward building the systems that we would need to imagine that future.
Do you understand that the word dismantle or police free also makes some people nervous? For instance, what if in the middle of the night my home is broken into? Who do I call?
Yes, I mean, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of my neighbors. And I know, and myself too, and I know that that comes from a place of privilege because for those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to step back and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality where calling the police may mean more harm is done. And so we have a...
So guys, you have to imagine that dystopian reality where calling the police would leave you feeling terrified. But she's not just saying imagine, like I'm imagining it, and that CNN reporter was imagining it, and her many friends and neighbors are imagining it. But she doesn't just want to imagine it and show empathy for those who may feel that way. She wants everyone to actually feel that way, not because they're imagining it, but because she really is dismantling the police. So she's saying, yeah, if you feel safe because of the police, that's privilege. We have to imagine that future. She said imagine twice. Imagine, we want to imagine, we have to imagine how terrifying it is, and it's privilege not to feel that way, so we are going to feel that way, all of us. I'm not sure if that's a winning campaign message there, young lady. Lots of super chats. Let me get through them. Kane and Mark, $10. I'm sick and tired of Caribbean Canadians' cultural appreciation of the USA blacks. God bless Tony Timpa, 32 years old. Jasmine Barnes, 7 years old. David Dorn, 77. I love the Caribbean. I love people from the Caribbean. I don't think most Caribbean blacks are appropriating the U.S. black experience of Jim Crow laws or slavery before that. Of course, blacks in the Caribbean were most likely brought there as slaves too. I think the larger problem is Canadians of all races, including white liberals, trying to mimic the morality play in the United States. And I'm not saying we don't have our problems up here, but we didn't have slavery up here. We abolished it. And we didn't have the Jim Crow laws. And I think things are pretty harmonious. I don't think you have some of the issues in the States, thank God. And those who are trying to graft American problems onto Canada, I think they are deeply immoral. We just don't have their history of slavery and segregation. We have had some minor segregation in Canada, but we didn't have the systematic, legal, we just didn't have that massive superstructure of slavery and then Jim Crow laws. We just didn't. We were the place the runaway slaves ran away to. So I think it's super gross that Justin Trudeau's taking a knee to try and bring that division up here. That's what he's doing. Proud Boys Calgary, I already read that one, I think. Disingenuous Ammonia, yeah, I already read that one. Toys Are for Boys, 666, had to turn in my M203 for deactivation because it went prohibited. CGD will no longer issue permits to citizens. I think you're talking about firearms licenses there. I think if the United States had any lingering doubts about whether or not it would enact gun control, I think the last week has removed that doubt. I bet you that there have been more gun sales in the last week than in any week since 9/11. I don't know if people bought guns back then. Yeah, you're just not going to convince Americans of any background or of any race that they don't need guns, especially when you have a police chief, a mayor like Jacob Fry, literally ordering the police to abandon. If they're going to abandon a police station, they will abandon your house. Happy Sidhu, $5. Hey, Ezra, thoughts regarding Huawei being dumped by Telus for 5G, with Bell and Rogers also following? You think this will force a Huawei cut altogether? I understand that they are all still using subcomponents from Huawei. So I think some of the headlines on that have been misleading. Michael, $5. It's always a proud moment for me when I walk into the front room and see my wife watching Rebel News on the TV. Subscribing to Rebel News Plus tonight. Well, thanks very much. I appreciate that. David Anderson, $2. How many dystopian movies have illustrated this? Well, I mean, it really has been straight out of a movie. And the burning of Minneapolis, it's so sad. That was such a wonderful city until so recently. And I made a prediction on Twitter on the weekend that the next mayor of Minneapolis will be Ilhan Omar. What do you think of that? David Anderson, $2. They want the purge, but who has all the guns? Well, the bad guys have some guns, but I think in America, there's a lot of firearms, and a lot of them are held by the good guys. Kappa Daseo, 22 Norwegian kroner. Who do you call? Ghostbusters. Yeah, I don't know who you call when the police just aren't even there. And I don't know if you can grab any viz of this, even just a headline is fine, Justin. But Bill de Blasio, I said he's not the worst mayor in America. Maybe he is. He announced on the weekend his plans to not completely defund the New York Police Department, which is, I think, the finest police department in America, despite the fact that our Anna Slatz was thrown in jail inappropriately by them. What are there, 38,000 people on the force? I think it's the finest police force in America. I think it's, in many ways, the most important police force, partly because of the importance of the city, but also because of their amazing counterterrorism work. And of course, that is a city that was once racked by organized crime and has continual problems. It has tremendous problems. It has a port. It has airports. There's so many things, the financial center, media center. It's such an important police force in such an important city. And de Blasio announced he's going to, there we go, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio will cut funds from the NYPD's $6 billion budget and redistribute it to social services and youth programming, he announces. So you got a bank robbery, hey, no problem. We'll send over a youth worker right away. Talk everyone down a bit. How are we doing for time? 12:44. So yeah, just crazy. The trouble is, to quote Hobbes again, if that Black Lives Matter street rally that looks like it's buffaloed the Minneapolis City Council into defunding the police force, like there was white flight in the 60s and 70s as white families wanted to move away from forced integrated schools and other things like that. And that's a shame because we believe in harmony and we believe in getting along with each other. But I think that the cause of Black America has been set back so far because it has, in two ways. First of all, substantively, where are these riots? In the main, they are in the inner cities. Now, I don't know about that Bellevue location, but that didn't look like mass burnings and riots. That just looked like a car incident. But in Minneapolis, in Baltimore certainly, in St. Louis, it's the black communities that are torched and looted and burnt. And as Thomas Hobbes says, you think someone's going to invest in a storefront? You think someone's going to say, yeah, I'm going to put my life savings into a store? When I call 911, I'm going to get this liberal saying, oh yeah, we need to imagine fear. No need to imagine it, sister. So I think you've set back entrepreneurship, businesses, economics in those inner cities decades. But also in terms of race relations. By branding the riots Black Lives Matter, and I know that there have been some wonderful moments, and Anna Slatz has reported on some of this, where the Black Lives Matter protests were peaceful and Antifa were violent, including white Antifa. I accept that. But it's the Democrats who support both Antifa and Black Lives Matter. And if you think I'm exaggerating, no one less than the Attorney General of Minneapolis, Keith Ellison, proudly poses, I don't know if you can find that picture, Keith Ellison, who is right now the Attorney General of Minnesota, he poses for photos with the Antifa handbook. So do you think he's going to prosecute, I don't know the jurisdictional differences in the states, but do you think he's going to prosecute Antifa when he's literally holding up, there you go, that's Keith Ellison, Antifa. Yeah, if that's, and he happens to be a black man himself, that's not good. It's not good to brand the riots and the violence as a black thing. It's not good. It's not good for race relations. It's not good for national harmony. It's not good as saying to young black men, this is what being black is. As Joe Biden would say, if you don't support the Democrats, then you're not black. On my show tonight, which I very much encourage you to tune into at 8 p.m. Eastern, I go through a lot of these things we're talking about in some detail, and then I end on a hopeful note. I quote a fair-sized sample U.S. opinion poll that's broken down by race. And I show that black Americans do not want these riots, and in fact, want the National Guard to come in and stop, want the National Guard, not just the cops. They want the National Guard to come in and stop the riots, and a surprising number want the actual military. I'm talking Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines. Super chat. Fat woolly temp worker Hoser Kanake, you're 1 hour ahead. Don't burn my art instruction school in Minneapolis. You're 1 hour ahead. Don't burn my art instruction school in Minneapolis. I don't quite understand what you're saying there, but I appreciate you chiming in. Have I missed any super chats? I think we're all caught up. Okay, let's check the time. It's 12:48. Oh, there's one more super chat. Let me catch up. Thanks, everybody, for the super chats. I appreciate that. As you know, super chats, YouTube gives us 70% of them, so it helps pay the bills here. Appreciate that. I read the Ghostbuster one. Yeah, okay, so I guess I'm all caught up. All right, well, let's see what else we got here. Looting in Alberta? Oh, you know what? It's funny. I sent this video to Justin on the weekend, and it was titled Looting in Alberta, because I'm from Alberta. I don't know if Alberta's ever had looting, ever. But this video, which was posted by Tim Moen of the Libertarian Party, made me laugh. So this is what looting in Alberta looks like. I don't even know if this is from Alberta, and I don't know when this is from, but when I saw that headline, I saw this video, it made me laugh. Take a look at this. I don't even know if that's from Alberta. That is sort of scary, and it's also sort of funny. And I'm glad no one got hurt. Maybe not even that deer or elk or moose or whatever that critter was. But what do you think of that? Let's catch up some super chats coming in here. Dame of the Dammits, you should do an investigation into social justice moms. Social justice moms. What do you mean by that? Like sort of the Karens, or just sort of the moms who were pushing things? Not sure what you mean by an investigation. We talk about social justice warriors a lot. Dan Brannigan, $5, thank you. John Singus, $2. Reminder, JT acted wildly during his blackface. Yeah, he sure did, didn't he? Yeah, it's hard to believe. You know what? I saw a story this morning. Can you go on either my Twitter feed? I think it's my pinned tweet. So today, the CBC state broadcaster has a story, maybe it's not my pinned tweet, about Trudeau and race and things like that. It's a story by Aaron Wary of the CBC. He's literally the journalist who went to Davos with Trudeau and wrote about Trudeau's socks. Look at the story. Liberal MP takes stock of government's action on anti-black racism and says there's more to do. Is that a press release for the Liberal Party, or is that a news story? We always said we need to do more. Now we're seeing why it's important to do more, says Greg Fergus. So that's not journalism, that's stenography, that's fart catching. Now if you look through this, and just scroll down, show everyone how long this is. It goes on, and 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 it goes on. That is a long story, and of course they've got a picture of Trudeau there. It's just amazing. Trudeau's wonderful. How do you write a story that long about Trudeau and black racism, anti-black racism, without using the word blackface once? How do you do that? How do you do that? They also refer to an MP named Selina Caesar-Chavannes, not my favorite person, a black Liberal MP, who was fired by Trudeau. And he shouted at her. And apparently he said, "You don't deserve what I gave you everything, RRR." That's what she says, and he never refuted it. So they quote her, and how do they describe her? She broke with the Liberal Party. No, she didn't break with the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party broke with her, or more to the point, Justin Trudeau called her up and screamed at her. Only Trudeau's CBC state broadcaster would omit blackface and say that Selina Caesar-Chavannes broke with the Liberal Party. Yeah, no, mate. No, you're a propagandist. You're not a journalist. Go write some more sock stories. All right, let me catch up here. Some super chats. Tom Forsyth, $10. The long-term effect of social justice policing will be to discourage sensible men from taking the job. That means more problems, not fewer. Exactly. I saw a comment from Lauren Gunter. Used to be that a lot of good, law-abiding gun owners wanted to grow up and be cops. Not anymore, because cops are political cops now. They're gun seizers. And I'm worried about the future of policing. I look at the UK and I see what's coming our way. Dan Brannigan, $5. I would like to know the thought of woman George put gun to her belly. Isn't that the truth? And we haven't gotten into that, mainly because there's just a certain amount of time. But this George Floyd was not a hero. He was a criminal. And he literally put a gun to a pregnant woman's belly. How on earth can that be a hero? I think I've caught up on the super chats. Oh, one just came in. Let me take a look at that. Another one from Damon the Damage. Thank you very much for being so generous. I'm from Victoria, BC, and my experience of social justice moms from across the country is that they're very violent. Huh. I tend to think the words violent and mom don't usually go together. But I know Victoria is pretty weaponized these days. Okay, now the thing is, I've got a few stories here that it would be, I think it might take more than 5 minutes to get into them. Why don't I show you one last video on this whole theme. And of course the phrase Black Lives Matter, I presume that means if you're black, there shouldn't be racism or violence done towards you. Does that apply to conservatives who are black? Or as Joe Biden says, if you vote for Trump, you ain't black. Does it apply to black cops? Because there are a lot of black policemen, especially in black cities. In Toronto, which I think is probably the blackest city in Canada, the police chief himself is black. So if you're a white leftist Antifa activist and you're chanting Black Lives Matter and ACAB, all cops are bastards, that's their phrase, do you get to attack, smear, insult, demean a black cop? If you're a privileged white leftist Antifa thug, do you get to take on a cop if he's black? Well, here's a video we have. Take a look at this. That's a swarm of mainly, I think there might have been one non-white kid. That's a swarm of white kids swarming a black, I don't know if he was a cop or a National Guardsman. And they're doing this in the name of Black Lives Matter. What do you think of that? I haven't seen that in any mainstream coverage. If they were alt-right white nationalists, would that get a teeny tiny bit of news? Why is it no news when they're Antifa leftist thugs? Well, I think you know why. Well, we're in heavy times, and so far rioting of any scale has not come to Canada. There's been some looting in Montreal. But thankfully, no violence in the rest of Canada. I wonder if it will come. I wonder how easy or hard it is to spark Canadians to riot. Like I say, we don't have that inherent division and segregation and animosity that's come from slavery and then Jim Crow and then extremely weaponized racial politics. We just have that. But I know there's people working furiously to bring that up here, including Trudeau himself. I hope we can escape the violence that has racked U.S. cities. And I tell you, Minneapolis will empty out. When I was in Baltimore a few months ago, what struck me is how empty it is. How every second house or apartment was abandoned. The population of Baltimore has shrunk by hundreds of thousands. Mainly white people leaving. Baltimore is actually named after, I think, Baltimore, Ireland. There's not a lot of Irish left in Baltimore. All the white folks left. And any black folks who could afford to leave. I fear that's the future for Minneapolis, a wonderful city with a wonderful history. I think every moving van company is going to be booked for the next 5 years. Just moving people out of Minneapolis. So much so that you'll have abandoned homes, like there is in Baltimore, like there is in Detroit. It's not just white flight, it's anyone who wants a future flight. Just get out. And, oh yeah, defund policing, sure. There'll be no-go zones. I say again, I predict Ilhan Omar will be mayor. Well, it's 12:59, and I know I've depressed you a little bit, but every day, Justin, our producer, curates, that's a fancy word for saying he finds it on the internet. He curates a dog video, and I usually don't see that. I have not seen this dog video. So I'm taking his word for it that this is a dog video that will make us at least 5% happier, maybe more. So let me thank you for joining us. Thank you so much to everyone who chipped in a super chat. And let me close by saying goodbye and take a look at this dog video. That's pretty good.